UFC Vegas 32, aka UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. Welcome to another UFC prediction and analysis video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And here at Boxing MMA Picks, we give you our fight by fight breakdown, fight by fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective. We're here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to stay away from, which underdog picks have a shot at winning. And if you stick around until the end of the video, you may even get a little bit of parlay action as well. Now, this is our main card prediction video. Of course, we have come out with our prelim card prediction video as well. If you have not watched that yet, press pause, go ahead and watch that video, and then come right back to this one. YouTube will even leave the spot for you. So take a look at that one and let us know what you guys think. Otherwise, we are going to get into our main card predictions here. We have Sandhagen versus Dillashaw as our main event. Of course, the return of TJ Dillashaw. 6 fights on the main card. So let's get to work. Before we get to our main event, we're going to have to start with fight number 1. Fight number 1, we have Mickey Gall taking on Jordan Williams. And I'm going to start with this analysis right here. So first, I'll start with Mickey Gall. I mean, his last fight was over a year ago at this point, June 2020. Lost that unanimous decision to Mike Perry. Made Mike Perry look really good in that fight. Still looks very green on the feet to me. Still looks uncomfortable. He does fight from the outside. He will mix in that calf kick. Has a pretty good body kick as well. Mix in a half decent jab, half decent straight as well. That right straight, again, pretty decent. Of course, we know the strength is in his ground game, but to that point, 1.15 takedowns per fight, as we can see there, 26% takedown accuracy. He does average 2 submission attempts per fight as well. So, I mean, logically, that's going to tell you he's a lot more of a grappler than he is a wrestler per se. But again, his strength is on the ground game. If I'm looking at Jordan Williams, on the other hand, I will say, in my opinion, at the very least, finally seeing him go down in weight. This is a welterweight fight at 170. We've seen Jordan Williams compete at 185 for the longest time. And in those fights, he looks small, right? I think it's because of his diabetes. He looks small. He weighs in at, 182, 181. So interesting to see him make that decision at this point to drop down to welterweight. His last fight, he lost to Imavov. Of course, we talked about him in our prelim video. So again, if you haven't watched that yet, press pause, go ahead and listen to that video and then come back here. That fight was in October. He is a southpaw on the feet, pretty light on his feet as well. Has a lot of pop, or at least has some pop in his hands. A pretty good left straight as well. Really likes to engage. He has a lot of toughness, has a lot of heart. Not really going to see him give up. Has a solid clinch with some good activity. And I mean, you have to consider his takedown defense for this fight, which in my opinion, he did show me some decent defense against Imavov, who, to your point in the prelim video, he's Russian. He naturally has that wrestling in him, even though he may not be a wrestler per se. So I was pretty satisfied with Jordan Williams' takedown defense in that fight, in a middleweight fight. Of course, we're here in a welterweight fight. I think Williams is going to be the bigger physical fighter. I think he'll stop the takedowns. I don't think Gall is amazing at takedowns to that point. And again, I think Williams will be physically stronger. I think Williams is better on the feet. I think Williams has more power. Ultimately, I think Jordan Williams gets the job done here. Minus 190. I'm not even too mad at that.
Yeah. I think he's a better fighter here. But as far as the size goes, Williams has, I think he has diabetes, right? He has some type of diabetes that he was diagnosed early in life, like 19, 20. And he doesn't, as a result of this diabetes, he can't cut weight. So that's why he's always undersized versus everybody he fights, is because he has to fight at middleweight, because he used to fight at welterweight and then he got really sick. And then the doctors, the only way he could fight is if he doesn't cut weight. So that's why he fights at 185. And a lot of these guys are bigger than him. And Mickey Gall is going to be bigger. But as far as strength, I think Jordan Williams is stronger. I think he's more of the athlete out of the two. And I think that's what you mean, where he's going to be the stronger guy, because he's going to be the athlete of the two. And he's going to be the quicker guy, the better striking. And yeah, he should be able to keep us on the feet. Like, remember, Mickey Gall lost to Diego Sanchez in 2019. Like 2019 Diego. He got pounded out in round 2. He lost to Mike Perry. I like Jordan in the squad, Jordan Williams here. But I want to know, who's Mickey Gall related to? How is he on the main card? This guy should not be on the main card with all these legit fighters on this card. On the prelims, you could put Brendan Allen fight on the main card, the Heinisch fight on the main card. If you want, even the Yanez fight on the main card, even the Ewell fight, even one of these girls fight, Eubanks versus Reed. But I don't understand how Mickey Gall got this spot, right? So, but I'm going to go with Jordan Williams. I like that pick, man. He's the better fighter.
Yeah, let's go on to fight number 2 in that case. Pretty solid fight in the women's flyweight division. We have Miranda Maverick taking on Maycee Barber. I'm going to start with Maverick. She had a good unanimous decision win versus Jillian Robertson in her last fight. That was back in March. She's also on a 7-fight win streak, and she's 2-0 in the UFC. I mean, we see her overall record there sitting at 11-2. Stand-up is pretty solid. She is a southpaw on the feet, decent boxing, good left straight, definitely willing to engage in the stand-up. I've seen her throw combinations and include kicks in there as well. So she'll diversify it up pretty well. Has a pretty good pace about her, has good activity as well. We see her, again, small sample size, only 2 UFC fights, but 6 significant strikes landed per minute. So definitely throws at a pretty solid pace, likes to come forward as well. The strength with the Miranda Maverick is on the ground, in my opinion, despite her stand-up being pretty decent. She has a very good ground game, in my opinion. Really good grappling. BJJ brown belt, unless she has, moved up since then. And again, small sample size, but over 2 takedowns per fight, 75% accuracy. So, I do like what I see from her on the ground. Has a lot of pressure, a lot of control when she's on top, good ground and pound as well. And she is physically strong. Only 5'3", 125 pounds, 126 pounds. So, she definitely fills out the division. If I'm looking at Maycee Barber, on the other hand, she did lose her last 2 fights after starting her career 8-0. She lost a unanimous decision loss to Alexa Grasso in her last fight back in February. Stand-up is decent. She's patient, looks for her shots, puts the pressure on you. She does like to come forward at times as well. No real head movement, though. I've seen her be counterpunched time and time again. Has good power for the division. Pretty big, 5'5", again, 126 pounds. Puts her weight into her hooks, so she's definitely putting a lot on it. And especially if she can smell blood, I mean, she'll really start to let them go. So has that sort of X factor of aggression to her as well. Pretty good clinch against the cage. I like her tie clinch in the stand-up. A lot of elbows, a lot of knees when she's in close. Look for her to score points in that way as well. And from what I've seen from her, good takedown defense and pretty solid on the ground. If she's on top, she does have pretty vicious ground and pound, but only, 1.44 takedowns per fight, small sample size on her own right, but nonetheless, not too active with her takedowns. For some reason, I feel Maycee Barber is almost a UFC project that hasn't really worked out yet in the way that they thought they would. I mean, she's still very young, only 23 years old. But at 24 years old, another young fighter, Miranda Maverick, she's looking to be a really solid prospect at this point in a small sample of UFC fights here. And I mean, ultimately, it comes down to this. I think Miranda Maverick is better on the feet. I think there's a lot of wasted movement from Barber despite her power. I think Maverick probably has the better takedowns. I think she probably has a better ground game. And I mean, although this is a really close fight, I have Miranda Maverick slightly better in every category or almost every category compared to Maycee Barber. So close fight, definitely want to acknowledge that. But I like Miranda Maverick here, minus 130. I may put some money on this depending on how the weigh-ins go.
Yeah, a women's fight though. I'm gonna beware, but I'm gonna think about that after I see the weigh-in. But I like your pick. Miranda Maverick's my pick as well. I just think she's the better fighter. I think that Macy definitely is a threat in that she knocked out that girl on the Dana White Contender Series. She knocked out Hannah Cyphers. She finished JJ Aldrich. She finished Jillian Robertson, and then she lost to Roxanne and Grasso. So when she wins, she knocks you out. So she has that animal in her, and she definitely could finish Miranda, because Miranda still has only, I believe, 2 fights in the UFC. But I'm with you, man. I think Miranda's just the better fighter here. And one thing I think that's going for her is being the athlete in this fight. And she's gonna be able to get takedowns. And she gets like 2 takedowns a fight. I think she got like 3 takedowns versus Jillian Robertson. So Jillian's not the best at stopping takedowns, but Macy Barber isn't either. So I'm pretty sure Miranda gets the takedowns. Even if she doesn't, she should be able to move around and showcase better striking. So I see Barber good in the clinch, but I think when they're striking open, I think Miranda Maverick has the advantage. So Miranda's my pick. Let's go.
Let's go on to the next fight then. Fight number 3 of our main card. We have Darren Elkins taking on Darrick Minner. How do you feel about this one?
I think it's a tough fight, but I'm going to basically go off the age. These fighters are very similar. These are grapplers first. In Darrick Minner's last fight, he looked pretty big. He looked pretty big in that fight. And that was something I was watching when I was watching that fight, was the size of Darrick Minner in that fight, and that was versus Charles Rosa. So I like Minner here. I think he could kind of negate the grappling. I think the stand-up is pretty close, but I just think Minner is going to have the better cardio in this fight, even though Elkins is known for cardio. Minner has good cardio as well. And I just think that he's the bigger guy, the younger guy. I'm not going to put any money on this fight because I'm really not sure what we're going to get from Elkins in this fight, because he is the older guy. But I just think with the age, Minner should be bigger in this fight, should be able to dictate the grappling. And I think his striking's better. I think his striking's more effective at this point. So I'm going to go Darrick Minner here to get this done.
I'm not going to spend too much time on this fight because, to your point, I want nothing to do with this. Do not bet this fight. You cannot clearly pick a winner in this fight, in my opinion. Do not bet this fight. Do not bet this fight. Do not bet this fight. Very hard fight to call. I think neither guy is too technical on the feet. To your point, both guys can wrestle. Both guys can land takedowns. Both guys are good on top. Minner, I'm not going to say he struggles in fights where he can't take guys down, but we've seen that happen where guys have that wrestling ability. Guys like Grant Dawson, who was able to get a victory against him. With Minner, of course, with that sort of guillotine attempt that he likes to do, 11 of his 26 wins are by guillotine, 22 of his 26 wins are by submission in general. With that guillotine that he likes to go for, he's almost going to be the one that's more likely to accept the bottom position, or at least threaten the submission with accepting bottom position. And a lot of that's going to be, how good is Darren Elkins at not exposing his neck, or how good is Darren Elkins at remaining calm and getting out of there. I think this is a 50-50 fight in some ways. I don't know, Elkins kind of has that Diego Sanchez toughness to him where he just kind of keeps going. And I mean, for some reason, I just see that playing a role in this fight. And I think that toughness factor, I actually think Elkins has the better cardio between the two. I think that's going to be what gets it done. I mean, I can see, again, a really close fight, a split decision type of fight where maybe, for the last 2 minutes of the second round, Elkins has his way. Round 3, Elkins probably has his way, but Minner won round 1 and the first 3 minutes of round 2. How does that get judged? Some judges see it 29-28 in favor of Elkins. Some judges see it 29-28 in favor of Minner. I feel it's going to be one of those type of fights. So, I mean, again, 50-50 Vegas logic here. I'm going to go with the underdog plus 140. Darren Elkins is going to be my pick. So let's move on to fight number 4. In that case, we have Kyler Phillips taking on Raulian Paiva. I'm gonna let you start this fight as well. How do you feel about this one?
Okay. This is the big fight. This is the fight. I'm gonna lay down a lock. This is the lock of the night. I don't lay down locks, but this is the lock of the night. So Kyler Phillips is better everywhere. So that's number one. Raulian Paiva has 3 weeks notice for this fight. He's filling in for Rafael Sunsao. So that's not going for him. Kyler Phillips had 8 weeks plus 9-10 weeks notice that he's in his training camp. He's gonna be the bigger guy. Paiva's going up in weight. Kyler, I think he's the better striker. I think he's the better. He's so creative in the striking. I think he's able to wrestle when he wants. He has really good takedowns, really good shoots. I don't see how Paiva wins this fight. So, like, literally, this is the lock of the night. And they're giving you okay odds. They're giving you pretty decent odds, in my opinion. What are the odds actually over there?
Minus 270.
This should be like, so what's the odds for Paiva?
Paiva is sitting at plus 220.
Like, it should be plus 400 for Paiva. I'm telling you, Phillips is going to destroy this guy. So Kyler Phillips, guaranteed. This guy, lock, I'm saying, Harris, don't follow me with this lock word, but you shouldn't use that word. But, this is a lock, man. And the odds, they're giving you, they're letting you make money off it. That's good. So I'm going in on Kyler Phillips.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this one super short as well. Now, I won't use the word lock of the night, but I will say this is by far the most confident fight that I felt when looking at these fights as well. And to your point, I noticed the odds weren't too bad at all, minus 270. Actually, if we take a look at Bet365, he's sitting at minus 250 right now. So definitely some really good value here. I think Kyler Phillips is better everywhere. Too dynamic, too explosive. He'll be the bigger fighter with Paiva moving up in weight. He'll be the more prepared fighter with Paiva coming in off of a short notice. Kyler Phillips, that's my pick. Let's move on to fight number 5. Fight number 5 is going to be our co-main event. Interesting co-main event, to say the least. We have Aspen Ladd taking on Macy Chiasson. I'm going to start this one off with Aspen Ladd. Coming off of almost a 2-year layoff. Her last fight was a win versus Yana Kunitskaya. That was back in December 2019. Somehow she's still in the top 5 in the division. So that kind of speaks to an earlier point that you mentioned on our prelim video about the women's division in general, where they all kind of take on each other. She puts a lot into her strikes on the feet, more of a boxing stance, some head movement, but she is a bit more of a brawler, in my opinion. She'll definitely take one to give one, definitely wants to engage. I'm not even going to say willing to engage. I'm going to say wants to engage. Good takedowns, really good on top, good top pressure, aggressive ground and pound. And I mean, she has that sort of next gear to her. I think it was in that Yana Kunitskaya fight. It was in the final round, if I'm not mistaken. She just went on a whole different burst of energy and won that fight very early in that round after, I think, arguably losing the first 2. I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember exactly how that fight went. But nonetheless, she does have that X factor to her where she can turn it up a notch and really, kind of zone in and zone out in some ways as well. Macy Chiasson, on the other hand, she's on a 2-fight win streak. She did beat Marion Renault back in March. I thought that was a solid win, but then again, we did see how Marion Renault performed against Miesha Tate. So I might be taking a point or 2 back from Chiasson in terms of how I rate that win. Nonetheless, that Marion Renault fight was back in March. Chiasson, very tall, 5'11". She's going to have a 5-inch height advantage. She's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. She has that aggressive pressing striking to her, really long punches, definitely willing to engage on her end as well. She comes forward a lot. She does fight from distance, though, at this point. Over the last couple of fights, she is showing that more patient striking a patient approach to her striking, I should say. We saw a lot of that in the Renault fight. Good long jab, good 1-2. She'll throw the combinations as well. Decent tie clinch, likes the knee in the tie clinch, especially against a shorter opponent in Aspen Ladd. She has some takedown defense as well, respectable 64%. She uses her length to her advantage with her takedowns, good balance, long limbs, hard to take her down in some ways. She will attempt that takedown in her own right, although she does just land just under one takedown per fight, 21% accuracy. So that lets you know that not necessarily that she's attempting them per se, but that does let you know that she finds herself in clinch positions often, again, with that longer frame. If she does get you down, she is able to use that longer frame to keep you on the ground, to use some ground and pound. And, she in her own right is improving fight over fight. To me, this is a very interesting matchup. It's hard to know what Aspen Ladd is going to look like just over a year and a half later, with some time off. I think Chiasson maybe has the better overall MMA stand-up. Ladd, I think, has the better wrestling. Chiasson, I don't know. For some reason, I see her having the stronger clinch, believe it or not. Of course, Aspen Ladd is a strong physical girl. Ultimately, I think it's going to come down to whether Chiasson can avoid the takedowns or not. I do think Chiasson will be able to keep the fight standing, using her distance, not allowing Aspen to get in, landing from the outside, using her length. I don't know if she can do that for the entire fight, but I do think she'll do that enough where she can pull out a decision here. So another underdog pick for me. I'm going Macy Chiasson plus 155. Again, at the very least, to me, this is a 50-50 fight. I'm going to apply that same logic. So I'm going with Maycee Chiasson plus 155.
Yeah, well, I like Aspen Ladd to get this done. I think she's going to get it done. I think she has the power here. I think she's just too strong of a girl here. Have her against the cage, even get her on the ground. She has really good body lock takedowns. Man. Yeah, I'm not sure how Macy wins this fight. I'm not sure. Because when I look at who Macy's fought, she's in the UFC. She hasn't really fought anybody. She's fought in fighters on the Ultimate Fighter, but that wasn't when a lot of those female fighters were very, very green. Like Pannie Kianzad, she beat on the Ultimate Fighter. And there's no way. Like Pannie Kianzad is a completely different fighter today. So Pannie Kianzad will probably be the favorite in the rematch. But in the UFC, she beat Marion Renault, Shanna Young, Sarah Morris, Gina Mazzani. Like that's not there, right? Well, Aspen Ladd had to go to Yana Kuniskaya. She got knocked out by Jermaine Durandamy. She beat Sajara Eubanks. She beat Tana Evinger, Lena Landsberg. Right? So, and she beat Sajara before, but that was their third fight. So let's not count that. I just think that Aspen Ladd's going to get this to the mat. I think she's too strong not to get this to the mat. And Maycee Chiasson, has she really, I don't think she has the power to knock out, I don't think she has that randomly power to knock out Aspen Ladd. So I'm gonna go Aspen Ladd here to get this to the mat. And I think she should win I think she's gonna win a unanimous decision here. I don't know what the odds are for this to go to decision, but there's a high chance. This is almost a guarantee this is going to decision.
Extra point I'll add there. I don't even think Durandamy really knocked her out. I think Herb Dean maybe stopped that one a little too early. So to your point of Chiasson not even having that Durandamy power, I think Aspen Ladd will be able to eat her shots. So that's an additional point I'll mention as well. But we are going to move on to our main event. We have Cory Sandhagen taking on TJ Dillashaw, the return of TJ Dillashaw. I'll start breaking down Sandhagen first. He did beat Frankie Edgar back in February. That nasty flying knee. 2-fight win streak now at this point. A lot of switch stands. Very dynamic fighter. Maintains distance, good spacing, good movement. A really nasty calf kick that he uses a lot. He uses it very actively, and to the point of him being a dynamic fighter and maintaining distance. Pretty patient fighter as well. He sets up his shots, has that diverse striking game, really good technical boxing in addition to the dangerous kicks. 6.85 significant strikes landed per minute. I think that's still the highest striking rate in bantamweight history. So this is somebody who can really put them together and put them together in bunches. Looking at TJ Dillashaw, on the other hand, we know he's coming back from the suspension, right? His last fight was January 2019, 2.5 years ago, almost at this point. He lost to Henry Cejudo in round 1. Very dynamic striker in his own right. I mean, we know he has that awkward movement on the feet, constant movement, switch stance, good use of the calf kicks in his own right. Pretty quick, pretty explosive, a lot of feints, a lot of level changes. His opponents have problems reading him. Now, for main events, I usually analyze them a little bit differently because I more actively think about how I think the fight will go. I do think this fight will stay on the feet. I do think both guys will present a pretty dynamic style of striking with really good movement around the ring. I think Sandhagen just does it a bit better and more effective at this point. Now, I will say this. We don't know what Dillashaw will look like 2.5 years later. We don't know what the time has done to him. We don't know what no longer being on the banned substance will do to him. We don't know how exactly TJ Dillashaw is going to look. He might come out and look the way Ortega improved in his last fight compared to the fight prior to that. So he could end up doing that. But if I'm going to base it off of who is Cory Sandhagen now and who was TJ Dillashaw a few years ago, I see Cory Sandhagen as a 5 inches taller, 3-inch reach advantage, almost 2.0 version of TJ Dillashaw in terms of being a very dynamic striker. So I think Sandhagen would just be the better fighter here. I don't think this is going to be a triumphant return for TJ Dillashaw. I'm not mad at the -180 at all. I can't call it a confident pick to that extent, but I'm definitely going to pay attention to what the weigh-ins look like. If I'm really feeling Cory on this one, I might even bet a little bit of straight up money on this. So I got Cory Sandhagen -180. I think he gets the job done.
Yeah, you got to factor in how long Dillashaw has been away from the game for, right? So Cory Sandhagen, obviously, he has that loss versus Sterling. I think Dillashaw has to come with a wrestling approach. I don't think he's going to beat Cory in a stand-up fight. I think he's going to have to bring that wrestling approach. He does have good wrestling, but now he's not on the sauce anymore, right? So he's not on that steroid stuff that he was using, right? So it's we're not sure what we're going to get from Dillashaw. We don't have any sample to see where he is at right now. But again, if he wins, he has to take this to the mat. Now, remember, Rafael Ascenso got Cory to the mat 4 times, and Cory still won a unanimous decision in that fight. So Cory knows how to get back to his feet. He knows how to maneuver around these takedowns. So I'm going to go with Cory here. He's more active, the more active guy, the younger guy, and he's creative. This guy, he should win the striking. And if it does go to the mat, Cory's gonna do what he needs to do to get back to his feet. Cory is a smart guy. His loss versus Sterling, if you actually watch that fight, actually no, let's leave that alone. But his loss that's his only loss. So he lost to Sterling, but I think he can get Sterling in a rematch. I think Cory's one of the guys in the division that you got to look out for. It's him, Jan, and I think eventually Sterling's gonna be out of the picture, right? So I think Cory gets this done. Cory's my pick.
Sounds good to me. So let's take it to Vegas. In that case, let's consider the entire card, starting with an underdog pick or two. I'll start this one off in terms of an underdog pick or two. 2 fights I know that you don't necessarily agree with here, but I'm going to go Darren Elkins, and I'm also going to go with Macy Chiasson. So 2 underdog picks there, +130 for Darren Elkins, +150 for Macy Chiasson. In terms of underdog picks, where are you looking at?
Underdog-wise, I'm sticking with Soriano, and I'm sticking with Imavov.
Soriano and Imavov, so doubling down on what the prelim card picks were for the underdogs. So let's then talk about maybe a favorite pick or two, or maybe even a parlay. What are you considering?
All right, I'm looking at Kyler Phillips, Adrian Yanez, and I'm gonna throw in there. Let me see. I don't want these guys to do, because you know what? I'm on a streak right now, man. I haven't lost these parlays, so I gotta keep it going. So no, you know what? I'm gonna keep it like that. Soriano and Kyler Phillips.
Soriano.
no. Oh, hold on. Yanez, Soriano, and Kyler Phillips. That's my parlay.
All right, so 3 fights there, pretty healthy parlay, plus 300, meaning that $100 will return 400, and for our bigger bettors, $250 will return $1,002. In terms of a parlay that I'm looking at, and I'm seriously considering this, I might even make this bet early, to be honest with you. I'm going to keep Kyler Phillips on there. I'm going to keep Adrian Yanez on there. But I'm feeling the main event. I'm going to go Cory Sandhagen. I know there's a lot of questions about what Dillashaw will look like, but this is a 2.5-year return off of the sauce, not some kind of went in the dark and started training super hard. So, I'm gonna trust Cory Sandhagen to get it done. He's been active, he's looked good. I think he'll get it done versus TJ Dillashaw. Healthy plus 229 on that parlay. $100 will return 330, and for our bigger bettors, $250 will return 850. So, as usual, we are going to sign off on that note. Please do all of that algorithmic stuff. Subscribe to the channel, press the thumbs up on the video, hit the notification bell so you know when our latest prediction videos come out, and participate in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. Any commentary based on any of the predictions that we've made. What are your underdog picks? What are your favorite picks? If you leave a very specific parlay in the comments as well, we'll be more than happy to give you our opinion and some further feedback on that. But as usual, we are going to sign off UFC Vegas 32, aka UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. This has been our main card prediction. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. We are Boxing MMA Picks. Let's get this money.
Let's do it.